Hey, yo, what's good, everyone? Twisted here with the Open Sorcery, and today I want to go ahead and talk about the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai. Now, as of late, I've gone ahead and talked about Kaizen, which means persistence in improving every day, or at least that's how I particularly think of it. And that was more so of a monologue tackling that, and then in more so of a conversational format with frequent guests of the Open Sorcery and friend Y King, we went ahead and talked about the Nordic philosophy of Hygge, which is all about comfort and mindfulness in your activities and everyday, going about doing things. Now, and when it comes to how I went ahead and decided, all right, let me go ahead and get into the realm of Ikigai. I happened to be going ahead and browsing Barnes and Noble recently, and was looking at different books in a manner of what you can say is bibliomancy. And for those who don't know what that is, that's divination using books, and that's covered generally by my fellow co-host Devi in a previous video, which I'll also leave the link for. And when I went ahead and was browsing through different books and all that sort of thing, I happened to see that, and the particular book that I'm talking about is Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francesc Morales. Now, while I did not necessarily purchase the book there or what have you, I combed through it, digitally speaking, and, honestly, not really going ahead and using that as a reference point all too much or an anchor for this, but going ahead and, just thinking more so of the core idea of Ikigai itself in regards to me addressing it presently. But in terms of, that sort of thing, right? Let's actually get into Ikigai itself and what it means, or at least the origination of it, what have you, before any sort of, Anglo in my I'm kind of messing up the term, but any sort of English interpretation or Western interpretation of it. But yes, in terms of Ikigai in Japanese, it translates into the English language as someone's reason for being or a reason to live. Now, Iki in Japanese means life, and Gai means value or worth. Now, when it comes to, in particular, where Ikigai happened to originate, it's credited as beginning on the island of Okinawa, an island which is denoted as having the world's longest life expectancy and oldest population on average. And generally speaking, I'd have to say that, having a particular purpose in life or a reason for being, or, knowing what fulfills you and being able to pursue that and act upon it, I've seen that within my own life, within people who are particularly older and elderly, that they have more so of a vibrant sort of manner about them, more so of a youthfulness, more so of vitality. I could say that there's older folks within my own family, not mentioning the particular individuals, but just going ahead and stating that older folks in my family that either I personally witnessed or heard stories of and how long they were able to go ahead and live, they went ahead and had longer life expectancies, usually than say others who more so took, they didn't necessarily have as much of fulfillment within them, or they didn't have as much of a internal happiness, or at least in terms of the Japanese origins of this philosophy, more so of a inner bliss within them, right? They found a particular manner of bliss to keep them carrying on day to day and enjoying life, what have you. Now, when it comes to going ahead and, the differences between the original Japanese philosophy and more so of a Western interpretation of how many people apply it, there is a important thing to mention that the traditional Japanese philosophy focuses on finding your bliss, as I went ahead and stated a moment ago, but the Western interpretation has used Ikigai as a method of finding your dream career. Now, for me personally, I'm more so within the manner of thought of going ahead and finding your bliss, finding what makes you in that state of, nirvana, or state of, you know, feeling at peace, feeling balanced, feeling tranquil, going ahead and where everything just feels right, what have you. And it doesn't necessarily have to translate into going ahead and having a career or what gets you the most amount of money or what have you. It can be applied in that manner, but I'm more so along the lines of, all right, what's going to go ahead and give us the actual true fulfillment? Whether you're going ahead and earning some sort of 6 or 7 or 8 figure or higher, amount of money per year or salary, or if it's just generally, if you happen to be homeless or you happen to be a monk living ascetically, or anywhere in between. If you just happen to be a common person who lives day to day, paycheck to paycheck, or maybe you're more so capable of traveling and being able to have, means addressed, from location to location, whatever the case may be. Let me go ahead and actually get into what the kind of motto of Ikigai is, right? So when it comes to that, there's a manner of categories, and there's actually more so a visual chart for it that if you look into Ikigai, you'll be able to find what have you. But it kind of works as like a four-sided Venn diagram, what have you. And with this, right, the more so outbounding layers, right, the major layers and all that happen to consist of what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And those intersections between those happen to involve the manners of, well, the things, the objectives, or the aspects, you could say, of passion, mission, profession, and vocation. So, amidst all of that, right? What are you passionate about? What's your mission in life? What's your profession and what's your vocation? And those right there, once again, I think that's more so along the lines of the Western interpretation of it. When it comes to, say, profession, vocation, of like, all right, what are you getting paid for? And what sort of activity are you doing that is kind of like volunteering, or you're going out and, performing this activity regularly, but, it's not necessarily generating as much income. So that right there, just putting that caveat, the asterisk on it, I'm not all too sure, what have you, but in terms of how much that leans into one Eastern manner or one Western manner or not. But regardless, right, I'm just going to go ahead and use Ikigai, the general manner of thought, to spring us into the general question, putting it plainly, of what is your purpose in life? Is it being a tradesman or a handy worker, like a blacksmith or a carpenter? Is it the arts, such as creating music or performing in theater? Is it nature activities or being out in nature, doing things such as camping or exploring parks in the outdoors? Is it traveling your home country or the world? Is it creating delicious food as a cook or a baker? What happens to be what you enjoy in life? You know? Is it going ahead and sitting on a rock and meditating for hours on end? Is it going ahead and going fishing? I could list numerous examples, but, that comes down to what it is that you particularly find fulfillment in. And that's just, the question that, in bringing the subject up, I want you to think about and brainstorm and go ahead and use it as a means to go ahead and learn about yourself more so. Go ahead and figure yourself out. And that goes ahead and ties into, a previous video, previous monologue by, once again, my co-host Devi, where she talked about the notion of knowing thyself, what have you. I'll leave a link for that video as well. But going ahead and recognizing, all right, why am I here? Who am I? What am I all about? And all that sort of thing. So when it comes to more so of a spiritual or a metaphysical or an occult or esoteric or magical perspective, right? This sort of manner of thinking can be applied to, hey, look, do you lean more so towards the left-hand path, which tends to be more so of selfish sort of manner of doing things in a spiritual manner, and you could say life overall? Is it the right-hand path, which is more so of a selfless way of going about things or a mentality and what have you? Or is it the middle path or way, the middle way, as it's, I believe stated more so in the Eastern manner of thinking, but going ahead and having a balance between those two, what have you, as opposed to leaning more towards one side or the other of what you can say is more so of a scale and having a gradient towards either direction. Now, when it comes to the different activities that you could go ahead and see, all right, what is it that you are here on this planet to do? What is your purpose and all of that sort of thing, right? It could go ahead and be that you're more inclined towards the acts of meditation or any forms of divination, practicing invocation or evoking beings, being a vessel or channel for any entities or deities, lucid dreaming, astral projection, so on and so forth. There's a variety of things that you could delve into in that manner, in growing yourself, expanding, evolving, and all that, spiritually, metaphysically, and so on. But that is what I want you to go ahead and think about, right? Whether it's general life things or particularly within the realm of the metaphysical. What exactly is it that you are here to do in this manner of providing food for thought, right? So, let me go ahead and actually get into something that is not particularly Ikigai, but is similar to Ikigai. And this is definitely Western in this manner of thinking. And going ahead and providing this as a tool to go ahead and, find out what it is that you can do, right? An exercise that follows. But first, before getting into a particular exercise, let me share the source of where said exercise comes from. So, previously I've gone ahead and mentioned on occasion Tai Lopez's 67 Steps program. And having done it previously myself before, right, it has gone ahead and shared some particular ideas and thoughts and insights that I've kept with me to this day. And having completed it not just once, but several times at this point. And in regard to the 67 steps, the origin of that is, for those who are unaware, is that, there's this one guy, Tai Lopez, who happens to be a popular entrepreneur out on the spirity internet, what have you. And he created a program, what have you, that was rather expensive at the time that it was released. But it happens to go ahead and have within it 66, lessons or 66 days of going ahead and, all right, what are we learning today? What are these collection of thoughts that Tai Lopez was providing? And the 67th step kind of being like an extra one for, going ahead and what he considers providing luck within that system. But in any case, right? On step 12 or day 12 of this program of listening to his audio monologues, his audio presentations on a daily basis, which is the goal of said program. And step 12, day 12, he went ahead and it's called, actually, when I look at it here, Mike's Stack of Resumes by 96-Year-Old Grandma and Your Eulerian Destiny. So in this, he generally goes ahead and provides this manner of thinking, or this lesson, these ideas about, what he considers the Eulerian Destiny. I believe the term may have originated from Tai Lopez, or he borrowed it from one of his literary sources, or whatever he's come across within his life. But the Eulerian Destiny gets its name from the graph theory of Eulerian path, discovered by Leonard Euler. And Euler was a Swiss mathematician, physicist, astronomer, geographer, okay, so it says logic right here, logician, there we go, I pronounced that correctly finally, an engineer who founded the studies of graph theory and topology, and made pioneering and influential discoveries in many other branches of mathematics, such as analytic number theory, complex analysis, and infinitesimal calculus. So, in terms of how that applies more so into a, philosophy or a self-help sort of sphere of things, right? Eulerian Destiny is pretty much like going ahead and addressing what happens to be, something that encases, like, what it is that you are not only good at, but you're here to do, right? So, the Eulerian path in graph theory, just in general, is a particular path on a graph that goes ahead and encompasses the most amount of area in the simplest manner possible, and all that sort of thing. And the questions that go along with finding your Eulerian destiny is, what did you grow up around? What have you had strangers give you feedback or compliments on? What have you been doing for the past 10 years, or as framed by Ty Lopez in his program, the 10,000 hours or the 10 dark years? And what can you talk about effortless? And I'm going ahead and tongue-tied at the moment, but what can you talk about effortlessly to your friends and family? And some examples provided are like sports, gardening, politics, or, in the case of us talking about different things of a magical, occult, metaphysical, esoteric, magical manner, right? And all that, right? Are those your particular interests? Are those things you can express to others, very easily? Is that where your passion lies? And all that sort of thing, right? So you pretty much go ahead and find where all four of the above points converge and meet in the middle, and this will give you a great idea of your Eulerian destiny. So with that right there, right, going ahead and trying to figure that out. That's very similar to the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai. Excuse me one moment. I had to clear my throat. But yes, that is very similar to the manner of Ikigai, that Japanese philosophy, but going ahead and kind of just more so in a general entrepreneurial and self-help sort of package or aesthetic, what have you. And with that came a particular proposal, an exercise that Ty Lopez mentioned that I believe can go ahead and be of use. Go ahead and figure out what your Ikigai is, what your Eulerian destiny is, and so on. So with this, right, you go ahead and you create a statement to describe what you're doing with your life in 12 to 20 words at most, or it can definitely be less than that, ideally so. And going ahead and following with the keep it simple, stupid mentality and mindset, what have you, which I have gone ahead and, kind of talked about in a monologue, and as with other things that have been mentioned that the Open Sorcery has covered, I'll leave a link for that as well. But generally speaking, right, what sort of manner can you simply and basically describe your purpose in life being? Once again, 12 to 20 words or even less, if you can aim for that, if you can accomplish that right there. So I'll provide the examples that Ty Lopez went ahead and shared with, his audience or people who bought the program at that time in said audio. So his sentence for himself is spreading good ideas using mass media. His mentor, Joel Salatin, said, give the world the gift of good food, because he happened to be focusing quite a bit on farming as well as other things. And the famous financier, the famous money man Warren Buffett, may go ahead and say, this isn't his exact words, but he just provided and constructed another example. I'm going to value investing money. So with that, right, I took this exercise, and for the sake of going ahead and participating in this and brainstorming for myself, right, what exactly is my particular Eulerian destiny, or trying to go ahead and very generally summarize a sentence that encapsulates what I'm here to do with Open Sorcery and just with my manner of life and all of that. And I came up with helping others grow spiritually using practical methods. I also went ahead and shared, my concepts, my ideas with, once again, Devi, my co-host, and she had stated herself, and wanted to participate, she stated herself that she is here to guide those with the drive to learn through expansion. So, while we have our particular manner of wording right now, and those examples are worded as they are currently, the wording may be subject to change and adjusted over time. So don't necessarily worry about that if you're doing the exercise yourself, if you're constructing your own personal sentence. But go ahead and realize that the core sentiment will likely still be the same, in terms of figuring yourself out. If you don't know yourself all too well, then maybe you will go ahead and your particular compass is pointed in a different direction, or you're more so like aligning your compass and you figure it out. But if you truly know what you're supposed to be doing in life, once you get to that point, through whatever manners and means, you may change the wording a little bit and tweak it over time, try to optimally get a less amount of words in to that sentence and take out the extra filler or what have you, but the core sentiment should likely remain the same and all of that sort of thing. And yes, so just once again, let me go ahead and just address the initial reason why we're here, talking about Ikigai and finding one's purpose. And, going ahead and thinking about contemplating, reflecting on what that happens to be. And going ahead and having provided that one exercise of creating a sentence, 12 to 20 words or less, optimally less, of exactly how you go ahead and you describe what you're here in this life to do. So that's pretty much what I want to go ahead and tackle and cover. And I think went ahead and did so, as good as I could at the moment. So this has been Twisted with the Open Sorcery, and stay frosty, Neguses. Peace.